Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Let's Talk for the month of October of 2022. My name is George Ferrari, and I serve as CEO of your community foundation. Let's Talks are monthly gatherings for us to learn more about a specific issue or area or topic within the mission-driven sector. We have been doing these for quite a number of months now. Previous presentations, the videos, and any supporting documentation or PowerPoint or documents are on our website at cftompkins.org. Let's Talks are curated and produced by Gloria Kwaku, who is our Chief Inclusion and Community Engagement Officer, who is here on this particular Zoom, along with Janet Hansel and Amy Levere from Community Foundation. We're very happy today to have a special topic of community building for maternal resilience. Yael Saar, who's the founder of Mama's Comfort Camp Support Network, is with us today, and that's a not-for-profit project of the Center for Transformative Action. We also have additional Let's Talks coming up, one on November 8th with folks from the Child Development Council, and one on December 13th with the new Executive Director of the YMCA, Christy Thornton of the YMCA. As you have ideas or topics or speakers for future Let's Talks, please contact anyone at the Community Foundation. Gloria is your initial point person, but any of us are happy to help you and assist you with setting up something for these very fun and quick conversations about particular needs in our community. We'll go to about 12:30 as a formal end of our program. We're staying on for about until 12:45 as we have additional questions. As you have questions, comments, please put them in the chat box, and we will be bringing those up after Yael's presentation. So I'll turn it over to you now, Yael. Thank you for making time to be with us to talk about these important issues. Welcome.
Thank you so much, George and Gloria and Amy and Janet and all the wonderful people at the Community Foundation. This is a very community foundation week for me in my life. I've been, getting ready for this wonderful opportunity to present here to all of you guys and all of you people, folks, wonderful people. I'm trying not to gender you. Tomorrow is the deadline for the Resilient Communities grant for the fall cycle. So I'm sure there's other people on the with us today who are also finishing their grant. And then on Thursday, there's the wonderful community celebration of the Women's Fund Luncheon, which I'm very looking forward to being in the same actual room with many of you. And, so I'm very excited and grateful to be receiving an opportunity and support from the Community Foundation. And it has been an interesting relationship with the Community Foundation, because so far you are the only local foundation that has been a consistent supporter who totally gets us. Mama's Comfort Camp is a little weird for other, we use Facebook, but we're not Facebook, and are we? It's hard for people to always understand what we are, what we stand for, and how to digest us. So this opportunity to present with slides and everything is actually really helpful, and we can get straight into it. So next slide, please, Gloria. Okay, so Mama's Comfort Camp Support Network. We work with moms from before they are mothers and for as long as they are mothers. And since that doesn't end when, since motherhood doesn't end when children sleep through the night, the things that keep you up at night change dramatically as your children grow. But motherhood is an entire arc, and Mama's Comfort Camp provides intergenerational support that connects people from around the world and across the street. We can move on to the next slide, please. Our mission is to normalize the struggles of motherhood, facilitate the asking and the receiving of help, amplify the influence of caregivers on policymaking, foster self-expression, racial justice, and a culture of kindness. And our vision is a world in which all caregivers are deeply supported, in a community in which all are seen, heard, and held. Because only when the caregivers are supported, the entire community can thrive. Next, please. So timeline. Mama's Comfort Camp started as a postpartum depression support network. We were focused on the on perinatal mood disorders. And then a year into it, we changed the name of the work to Mama's Comfort Camp, from PPD to Joy, mostly because we understood that some people did not really, some mothers who needed our support did not want to associate themselves with a mental illness, and that we are actually functioning in a world in which mothers are not supported regardless of their mental health situation, and that in many situations, postpartum depression and other mood disorders are sort of inevitable because of the lack of support that mothers experience. And of course, during the pandemic, it became even more clear that it's not only mothers, but all caregivers are not being supported enough. And whether, and there are all forms of mothering, whether we mother our own children, or we're a teacher or a bus driver or even a bank teller, that when there's a crisis, all the people who provide the most acute care are not supported enough. So Mama's Comfort Camp increased our lens to not just talk to mothers specifically, but we're trying to increase support for all caregivers. In 2016, so after about 4 years of being entirely sort of flying by the seats of our pants as a completely volunteer organization, which meant that it was like me and a couple of friends that were trying to do all the things, we joined the Center for Transformative Action at Cornell University. And they provide back office and guidance, and they're just the most wonderful fiscal sponsor one could ask for. We absolutely love working with them. Anka and Lee, Marcella, and everyone else on the team. If all the people working in the nonprofit world had such a supportive team behind them, the world would be a better place. In 2018, we changed the name of the organization. So as you can see, there's like the logo with the airplane is for Mama's Comfort Camp, which is our online support forums. But by 2018, we've had other programs. We've had the Listen to the Mothers, which we later changed to the Listen to the Caregivers initiative, which created opportunities to speak on stage in person with each other. We had Parents to Polls, which was supporting parents voting, and also parents supporting other people's voting. So I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. And we were working on creating Motherhood as a Joke. It became clear that the Mama's Comfort Camp was our flagship program that reaches the most people, but that the organization needed a different name, and the name that we as a community came up with was Mother Up. And the idea is that motherhood is not a gendered or a biological situation. It's when we mother each other, though the community will hopefully be happier and healthier. So we just like we can tell little girls to man up, we can tell grown men to mother up, and we can invite everyone to think about, well, what would a mother do when it comes especially to the allocation of resources? Now, during the pandemic, we were a very central organization in the community. When people couldn't leave the house, they flocked to their little screens that were the little bridges between us all, and thousands of local mothers supported each other at all hours of the day and night. And our moderators really showed up to the task. And many people told us that Mama's Comfort Camp was their only lifeline to the community, and their only way to support themselves while they had to support their children at home and, you know, deal with such a change in their lives. And now as the you know, it's not exactly post-pandemic, right? Like the pandemic isn't quite over. And even though we are seeing each other in the real world and in person, the need for being able to connect with each other through our little machines in our pockets. Isn't it cool that, by the way, that we all have a lot of us, most of us have something in our pocket that is more powerful than the computers that powered Apollo to the moon? pretty interesting. So in the last few years, it became clear to us and to many of the people who use Mama's Comfort Camp that it is a very important infrastructure. So just like roads and bridges and schools connect people in person, It is moderated online forums that support interaction for people who cannot be together, whether it is because of a crisis or because they are stuck at home with babies and no car. And all the other reasons that sometimes it's impossible for people to support each other in person. So we're almost at 2023, and we are declaring 2023 as a sustainability challenge for Mama's Comfort Camp. As I will speak to in a few minutes, we are not economically sustainable. Mama's Comfort Camp is extremely under-resourced. We have not yet been able to support even one regularly employed employee. We are calling on the Ithaca community, the Tompkins County community, to support the sustainability of our capacity to continue serving Tompkins County. And we'll get a little bit more into that with the next slides. Okay, so our programs. The Ithaca chapter of Mama's Comfort Camp is over 3,400 local moms. We have an international group in which moms from around the world support each other, but most of our work is done locally. And we love seeing how Ithaca mamas are actually receiving support from mothers from around the world. And there are the occasional stories of somebody who ends up in Australia visiting Claire, who she met at Mama's Comfort Camp. Now I'm planning on visiting Claire next year, actually. Claire is one of our den mamas. So our den mamas are our volunteer moderators, which I'll explain how wonderful and how they work in just a minute. A few years ago in a snowstorm, all of the Ithaca chapter conversations were about how to get from one place to another safely. Specifically, I need to go pick up my kids from IC3. Do I take Route 13 or Trip Hammer Road? And somebody answered immediately. So after a few days of that, we recognized that this is another way of providing life-saving and community support. And we created the Road Conditions Reports Forum that is now open for mothers, fathers, others, anyone. And there are 13,000 regional drivers that are using that forum, and which we moderate, because if we didn't moderate it, it would become pretty awful, like a lot of online spaces. The difference between moderating the Mama's Comfort Camp and the Roads Conditions group is that in the Mama's Comfort Camp, when somebody is accidentally rude, or if there's cases of microaggressions, we the moderators talk to them in a way that assumes everybody's good intentions, and we often turn moments of misunderstandings into moments of support. And it is actually quite common that somebody who we had to correct and explain what we're working about, what went wrong and how, we know you meant well, and here's why we're asking you to change how you're communicating here. Often these people actually learn something and then want to join our moderation team. Whereas in the Roads Conditions group, if somebody says a racist something about because they're upset about road closures because of demonstrations, they're blocked and removed. Which is an interesting power to have, to remove people who are racist and sexist. Whereas in the Mama's Comfort Camp, in the mothers groups, we hardly see any of that. In 10 years of supporting moms, we've had to remove people less than once a year. In person, we have the Listen to the Caregivers initiative. The most recent event of that was the How Are the Caregivers Day in downtown Ithaca on Mother's Day weekend. We had about 300 people join us over a full day of events. We had over 30 local organizations be involved. Parents to Polls is our democracy, our way of parents to supporting democracy in our community. We've held free childcare at Southside Community Center on election days, and we've had people, we've had volunteers in polling places, supporting parents and other people in lines or in finding their way for the past 3 election cycles. It is now paused because we are not we don't have the capacity to offer this again this year because of lack of funding. It wasn't funded in the past, but at this point, our volunteer capacity is stretched too thin to be able to offer this again. And then our newest program, which is sort of a culmination of 10 years of our work, is Comfortitude Skills Workshops. And that is, in the last 10 years, we've been communicating with the mothers about all the ways that emotional stressors are getting in the way of our capacity to function effectively. And in my experience of healing from postpartum depression and acute anxiety, I have learned many ways to support my own central nervous system. And then in communication with a licensed service provider from the Family and Children's Services of Ithaca, we are developing a curriculum that supports mental health first aid kit, and that is creating a small toolkit of ways for one to expand your own comfort from the inside out. And we are going to pilot this program together with the after-school program at Southside Community Center. And this is actually one of the things that we're hoping to receive funding for in the grant that we are submitting tomorrow. So thank you for the opportunity to ask you for support of this particular project. Next, please. Okay. One of the most effective tools for Mama's Comfort Camp is what we call the helpful help posting format. So you know that there's thousands of forums in which mothers talk to each other on the internet. And people tell us that Mama's Comfort Camp is one of the only places where they feel like they are safe from unsolicited advice and competitive parenting and judgment. And the way that it worked is something that developed over the years, but our moderators are now asking everyone who joins us to learn to express their requests in the following way. You share the topic. So what is this about? Your need, what are you asking for, and what you don't need. So this is how to be clear and with boundaries. And it improves the moderation because it makes it very clear what people want. And then if somebody is getting what they didn't ask for, they don't have to stand up for themselves when they're already in this vulnerable position of asking for help. Our moderators do that for them. But also, when you have such a clarity of communication and people set their own boundaries when they, at the outset of asking for help, what you get is personal sovereignty. People are communicating in a way that makes their boundaries clear, makes them stand a little taller, and reduces the likelihood of getting what they don't need dramatically. So this reinforces healthy interactions for people online, for people in their own personal lives. People tell us that they use this format when they talk to their husbands, their mother-in-laws, their coworkers. And another beautiful thing that this does is that we find that this format is now showing up in various forums online that are not run by Mama's Comfort Camp. In the mutual needs support groups or in the educational support groups, it's very gratifying for us to see when people use this topic need format in other forums. So keep doing that, Ithaca. We can go on to the next slide. Yeah. So in what we have here is a little graphic from Facebook, and it shows that people are communicating at all hours of the night and day and night. And I can tell you that they are talking about endless impact areas. Mothers in our forums discuss things anywhere from, I can't get my little one to brush their teeth, they're going on a strike, give me some suggestions, to I need to find an oral surgeon that takes kids, because that's actually something that is happening quite often. And all the way to, I am feeling so touched out. I really don't want to have any intimate relations these days. And my partner is asking me to take one for the team. What do I do? What do I say? People also have the capacity to post anonymously, of course. And what we find is that this is not only normalizes the struggles and dissolving guilt and shame, it also provides for intergenerational support. We will see people who are new mothers getting support from grandmothers. And we'll see grandmothers asking about ways to communicate with their daughter-in-law and receiving suggestions from a new mother that they may or may not have met before, but now they are both in Ithaca and can become friends through their own online interactions. Often we see the friendships that are created where people are typing on their phones in the middle of the night when nobody is actually interrupting their communications. Whereas if we meet a mama on the playground, the likelihood of us being able to complete a sentence or complete an idea is pretty low. And online, we can have these conversations from wherever we are, and we get to know people's pretty intimate thoughts and ideas. And then when we meet them on the playground, we fall on each other's, like we hug each other like we've been long lost sisters, even though we've only met through our, through our phones before. Also, through Mama's Comfort Camp, there's a lot of resource sharing. People are sharing anything from, extra apples that are growing on their trees or coming to pick up apples from each other's in a play date, or of course, baby gear and all that. But also sometimes there's mentorship. Often there is ride shares, etc. And the most, on one way, I think the most important thing is that we provide a very effective forum for early intervention and harm reduction. So on one hand, we do not allow any form of medical, it's not internet medicine, but the mothers will support each other in seeking the right medical and mental health support before things get worse. Okay, let's move on to the next. Okay, we talked about this. We can move on to the next thing. Comfortitude. So back to the idea of the comfortitude training that we're doing. Comfortitude is a Mama's Comfort Camp word that includes comfort, fortitude, and community as the way to get there. So it's a two-pronged definition on resilience. One, we believe that resilience is not an inside job. It is the strength generated when the community members support and comfort each other, so everyone is seen, heard, and held. And then there's the capacity to increase one's comfort zone from the inside out. And that is the strength we generate when we teach emotional regulation skills for helping our central nervous system to calm down when we're triggered. So the second part is the center of the work that we're piloting with Southside Community Center and the Family and Children's Services. And I want to thank Josiah, who is here with us, for being part of this wonderful collaboration. It's been really great to get to know their team and work on this project together. Next, please. Okay. So amplifying the voices of parents and caregivers, we believe that stories are the thing that drives decision-making. And we are very, we're not shy in saying that we want people to vote like a mother and to shop like a mother. And we are creating opportunities for mothers and caregivers. And here we have several that you may already know. So Ms. McBean Claiborne and Ms. Phoebe Brown, I'm sure you're familiar with. And the woman in the center is Katie O'Connor, who is a music teacher at ICSD. They were all part of our latest Motherhood is a Joke class. which told some very poignant stories. And it's comedy with a mission to get people to, make better decisions when it comes to allocation of time, attention, and resources. It is hilariously funny, but it's also, pretty deep. And it was the centerpiece of our Caregivers Day. And if we move on to the next slide, we'll talk a little bit more about that. Our Caregivers Day was about building bridges while centering the voices of color and people from marginalized communities. So we had a poetry event celebrating the life and work of Kirby Edmonds. We had a local children's choir. We had Cal Walker and Paul Simon. And we had over 30 local organizations that were involved in this one day of community. And again, all of this was done by our group of that is mostly run by volunteers. So the reach and capacity of Mama's Comfort Camp has been developed over the past 10 years. And this was a pretty fascinating event in which we had the mayor read a proclamation, and Anna Kellis read a New York State Assembly citation. It was an amazing celebration, and it had people young and old from every part of the community, and it was a ton of work, but it was extremely rewarding. Next, please. Okay. We center co-creation with lived experience experts, and we really encourage all of the organizations in the community to think that when you're trying to reach people, you don't just advertise at them. Communicate with the community. And Mama's Comfort Camp can help organizations do that. We're in fact working on a program right now with the Tompkins County Health Department on centering the voices of people of lived experience experts. And we are interested in doing that with other organizations. So please talk to us if this is something that you are trying to co-create. Next, please. Some misconceptions about Mama's Comfort Camp. We don't want to leave the stage without talking about the misconceptions. So here we go. We are not just for new mothers. As I said before, Mama's Comfort Camp serves mothers throughout the whole arc of motherhood, and it's beautiful intergenerational support. And we cannot say that enough. We've been saying that for 10 years, and still I meet people in the grocery store that are like, but I wish I had that. I know about it. I wish I had it when I had babies, but now my kids are all grown. It doesn't matter how old your kids are. You're welcome. Your kids are. If you're interested in speaking and processing and communicating about motherhood, you are always welcome at Mama's Comfort Camp. Also, we don't only serve mothers, we serve families in many levels and impact areas, and we are increasing our work to support caregivers who are not parents. Also, one of the misconceptions is that we're just a Facebook group. No, we use the Facebook forums because that's where people are, but we are a visionary nonprofit organization with many programs. And then the other side, the flip side of that coin is that some people think that that Mama's Comfort Camp, the Ithaca chapter of Mama's Comfort Camp is a municipal or a county program and that is fully funded, when in fact we are almost entirely volunteer run. Next, please. So challenges, funding. The almost complete reliance on volunteer work is a barrier to sustainability and programming. We get a lot more requests for collaboration that we're from various local organizations and individuals than we can actually show up for. We are committed to never charging a membership fee. And even though we do ask for donations, we find that asking for those donations very loudly is actually something that doesn't make the safe space feel as safe as we'd like it to be. We are hoping to find a way to get funded more by the county or the municipality. We're trying to fund only 2 core staff positions. We're 2 women who are mostly volunteering our time and supporting 30 volunteers who are supporting thousands and thousands of people. It is time for the staff members to be reliably employed. And if we're not going to be able to do this by the end of 2023, we are not going to be able to continue. So we are definitely seeking support in many ways. And let's move on to the next challenge. And so this is how you can help. So if you are someone who is versed in fundraising and large grants, we would love your support, and we'd love to have you on our board. If you are versed in the city and county funding, ways of achieving that, we'd love to be mentored by you. And other ways to advertise with us and become an outreach partner. So you can support our operating costs instead of paying a newspaper or a bus ad. Share some of your outreach budget with us. You can sponsor our forums and events. And if you're interested in reaching 13,000 drivers in the roads conditions groups, you can join some of the other local organizations who have done so in the past, like Sunny Days or Avital Apiaries here. We're also, again, looking to co-create some programs, especially if you have staff members who can co-create the programs with us. So we cannot take any more things where we do the majority of the creation, but we can bring our expertise to organizations that have staff members who are working on creating programs and support that the programs themselves will become more effective. We're also looking for an organization or an individual that is interested in starting a sister or a brother organization, in this case, a Papa's Comfort Camp. Possibly men would want their support network to be called something other than Comfort Camp. But the systems that we have created in supporting thousands of people online at all hours of the day with loving and trained moderators are replicable. And while we ourselves as women cannot hold safe space for men effectively, we would love to see that happen, and we'd be happy to support that. And then the last thing is that we are starting a new kind of moderator training at the end of the month, and it's for public health workers. There are several organizations that are interested in having their employees become part of our local moderation system. They see the benefits of having their finger on the pulse of the maternal community. And Gloria, we're talking about that. I think I'm talking about that in the next slide. Yes, so if you have an organization with people who are paid for going to work, and in their work they are supposed to be communicating with the maternal community in town and supposed to be keeping a finger on the pulse, then with less than an hour a week, your employee could be doing their job while contributing to the strength and sustainability of Mama's Comfort Camp. The training is very simple and is done entirely online, and the link to the application is here, and I will also put it in the chat. And Gloria, can we send an email to everybody who signed up with that information as well after the event? Thank you. So the training is very simple. It's less than 3 hours. It's all online and it starts, it's going to be for 2 weeks, starting October 28th. And then afterwards, we request a 1 hour a week commitment for serving. And that is it.
Thank you so much for packing so much information into the time we have together. I want to make sure we have an opportunity for questions or comments that people might want to put into the chat to learn more about this important work that you're doing and have been doing for over 10 years now. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So we do have a couple questions that were as people registered. There were two specific questions that I'll just read, and Yael, if you can give some insight. The first one: given Mama's Comfort Camp's presence on social media, how widespread is the participation in MCC? Does MCC function in other languages? How would MCC look in another country or culture? And then there's a thanks for all you do to support parents and their kids.
Aww. So our international, so we have two forms for mothers. One is international and has moms from around the world, but it's entirely in English. We would love to be able to offer our services in other languages, but we don't have the resources to do that. We have mothers from all over the world, and many of them have, are bilingual, but it would be really interesting to be able to offer this in Spanish or in Arabic or in other languages. And, maybe someday, if we are successful in finding the financial background to become a sustainable and more, an organization with maybe more than 2 people doing the work, the majority of the work, then it would be really fascinating and a big opportunity, a great opportunity.
Sure.
But in the international group, we have, I lost my train of thought. What I wanted to say is that in the international group, the conversation is almost entirely about emotional support stuff. And people from Ithaca also tend to post a lot there when they're talking about sensitive emotional stuff, because it's not like everybody there is someone that they're likely to know from like their workplace or knows their kids or their family. In the Ithaca chapter, we have mothers from, I would say that about 2/3 are from Ithaca, Trumansburg, Dryden. We have some people from Cortland and Binghamton and Syracuse and Rochester, but the majority are closer to home. Did that answer the question?
Yes.
Okay.
I do want to respect everyone's time and say that the program officially ended at 12:30, but we are expanding it an extra 15 minutes to allow for questions. So if anyone needs to hop off, don't feel obligated to stay on. You can just hop off, but we'll continue with the questions. This next one, well, I guess it's more of a statement. She says, I need help with a very high functioning autistic girl.
Okay, so
And that was it.
Yeah. Okay, so here's my suggestion to you. It's to go into the Mama's Comfort Camp. Actually, I would go into both Mama's Comfort Camp forums. In the international support group, I would ask, it's with topic, support for a high functioning autistic girl, and need, state what you're looking for, whether it's like strategies or resources, and then what you don't need. If there's something that that it doesn't work for you, just say that. And then in the you could tell, you probably want to say, if it's useful for you to share things like age or circumstances, please use the anonymous version of the anonymous posting option. And then in the local group, you could ask the same question, but also ask for specific resources, ask for in-person connections, and our moderators will try to support that. We will talk amongst ourselves and see if there's any resources or people that we can connect you with. And we also bump your posts. So if you say you posted in the middle of the night and then there were several posts that happened since, our moderators will go in there and make sure that your post goes back up to the top of the stream by commenting. So people who haven't seen it since you posted it will see it again.
That's great.
Perfect. That's great. Well, thank you for that. So that is all we have for the questions in advance. It looks like we have Shay Jewel, who says that
that's me.
Hi, Shay.
Hi, Shay.
Hi, yeah. Hi again.
She was just hired as a community health worker, and she is interested, I'm assuming, in your program. Yeah,
in the public health worker training. Yes, Shay.
Yeah, definitely.
We want you there. Thank you. That would be wonderful.
Lester and I should definitely, I mean, like you said, I think it's important that we're getting, like you said, getting paid to do this sort of stuff. So we would, I mean, I'm not going to speak for him, but I would definitely be interested. So I will see those links and definitely be in contact with you.
Perfect.
Yes.
Anything we can do to help.
Claire is on it, by the way.
Great, awesome.
Yeah, yes.
Great.
Yeah, it's been wonderful to work with Claire's team at the health department.
Yeah, I mean, we get paid for this. We should be, you know, out there doing things to help other organizations. So thank you.
It's amazing.
Thank you.
Thank
We-
you, Shay.
I want to answer Jan Bridgeford Smith's question.
I was
Women's
getting there, yep.
Opportunity Center.
Mhm.
Yes, Jan, CTA is our fiscal sponsor and we love them. And I'm
Okay.
glad you love the posting format.
Yeah, I thought that was great. I mean, it's really, this has really been interesting. Thank you.
You're
Very
welcome.
interesting.
And I should also say that we are very interested in supporting all the organizations that want to create brave spaces for safe spaces for brave conversations, whether they're online or in person. We can coach and train. What you can. One way of learning this is joining our moderation team. But if that's not what your organization needs, then we can come in and offer workshops. And that is another one of our income streams that we're developing, that offering training to organizations that are trying to achieve some of the outcomes that we have.
Yeah, no, that would be great. And we've got space that we just redid for children, small
Mhm.
children. So yeah, I'll be in
Yeah.
touch.
Great.
Please, yeah.
Well, Yael Saar, I want to thank you for 10 years plus of building safe spaces for brave conversations, and Community Foundation loves providing these sort of spaces for us to make these connections and collaborations and next steps. This has been Let's Talk for the month of October 2022. We have a next Let's Talk coming up on November 8th with folk from the Child Development Council, and encourage you to stay connected to previous presentations. I put in the chat the link for the video archives and material archives. So thank you so much for joining us today and for learning about the important work that Mama's Comfort Camp and Mothers Up continue to do in our community.
Thank you, everyone. It has been
Thank you,
pleasure.
everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
Hi, Janet. It's so good to see you.
Take care.
We miss you, Nithaka.
And Gloria, if you want to end the recording now.
Yes, I am trying to get to the button.